When the president announced he was stepping aside in the race, the big question was, who would step in? The president has answered that question. The president just tweeted his full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the party nominee. He says, "My fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this." The president has always believed Kamala Harris has what it takes to be president. He wouldn't have chosen her as vice president if he didn't. Interestingly, in the past 2 weeks, we've seen a change in how he's talked about her. Just 5 days ago, at an event in Las Vegas before the NAACP, he took on Trump, especially regarding Trump's outreach to black voters. He fired back at Trump's use of the phrase black jobs, saying, "I know what a black job is. It's vice president." He stated clearly that Kamala Harris could be president. His words made everyone listen closely, hinting that he was considering stepping aside. Here's what Representative Jamie Raskin had to say.
Do you think he made the right decision?
Well, he's more like a star pitcher with a tired arm. But in any event, he's been one of the great presidents of American history. He's done extraordinary things in office. He's a great patriot, and he's a great leader, too, because a great leader makes way for great leaders and helps to raise them and nurture them. And that's what he's done with Vice President Harris. And we're going to see extraordinary unity and focus in our party getting behind President Biden's choice of Vice President Harris for president. I think people are going to rally around his vision and his strategy for having us beat the autocrats and the monarchs and the theocrats that have rallied around Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. This is the election of our lifetime, and Joe Biden is going to be right at the center of it as president of the United States.
You have been at the forefront of efforts in Congress to prosecute Donald Trump, the impeachments, and January 6th. How does this decision change the contours of this presidential race?
Well, I think you put your finger on it. Kamala Harris is a prosecutor. She made her career as a prosecutor. Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, said that Trump was going to be America's Hitler. He said that he was cultural heroin for the working class. Now he's a pusher. I think America is realizing that J.D. Vance has no convictions at all, but Donald Trump has at least 34 convictions right now, and he can share some of those with J.D. Vance. In any event, the framework of the race is clear at this point. Kamala Harris is going to prosecute this case for democracy and freedom across the country. I saw her speak yesterday. She will put abortion rights, birth control, IVF, the rights of women, the rights of health care, voting rights, democracy, right at the center of this campaign. And she will prosecute the case against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. She's going to be an extraordinarily powerful candidate.
Now, Biden is throwing his full weight and support behind Kamala Harris, sending a huge message to the party with so little time left in the race. It's not just the president's words, it's also Kamala Harris's actions. She's been rallying black voters, who are the bedrock of the Democratic base. Here's what Representative Jasmine Crockett had to say.
And Congresswoman, welcome. And I understand you've just gotten off of 2 big calls. There was the big Win with Black Women call, which lots of people are now talking about, which busted its capacity. So black women uniting for Vice President Harris, but also with the vice president. Do you want to tell us anything about that call with the vice president?
So just so that everyone is clear, I was never one of those leaky people. So no, I have nothing to say about my phone call with the vice president, other than what I'm sure the American people already know, which is that I stand 10 toes down with Vice President Kamala Harris to become the next president of the United States. I made it very clear very early. If Joe is out, there is only one person that I will be working for. So this idea of throwing out Joe Manchin and all these other people, listen, if y'all decide to go any other way, have fun with that. But the only person that I will get out there and break my back for and campaign for and believe in, who is capable and qualified, is Vice President Kamala Harris.
Let's just talk about, because you've been one of the members who's been very clear that the push to get Joe Biden to stand down was not something that your constituents were in support of. I know that we were both in New Orleans, and I think we both spoke to a lot of civilians, black voters who were very angry about it, and I think you agreed with some of them in some ways. What do you make of how this process played out, and are you confident that there is no way to stand in the way of Vice President Harris being the nominee? It seems like she's getting all these state party endorsements.
I am not confident. I will be working and working and working. As you mentioned, there was the other call with Win with Black Women, which is actually still going on right now. I have been in touch with those delegates that have pledged themselves to President Biden in my district. We are in the process of contacting all of the Texas delegation. I am not confident at all because, as it was laid out earlier, I do know that, behind closed doors, while I won't name names, that there were people that were absolutely like, it can't be the vice president. So in one breath they were saying, the president needs to be out. In the next breath they were also saying it can't be her. And so it was one of the reasons that I was very fearful that we would end up falling into this trap of chaos, which, we have done a really good job in the House of making it clear that the chaotic party is the Republicans, as we've watched them perform as straight up clowns this entire, year and a half. So the fact that we would eat our own was really disappointing, especially since I know that it wouldn't be kind of this smooth transition over to the other person that is on the ticket, which is the vice president. But nevertheless, everybody knows that I was doing everything that I could for the president. I'm going to do everything that I can for the vice president. I was just in Phoenix with the second gentleman where we were campaigning. I have gone around this country. I've been to Philly, I think 4 times. I've been to Michigan. So a lot of the people that were coming out and had all these opinions, I hadn't seen them in the streets fighting for this. So now that they got their way, my only request is, will you finally lace up your shoes and do some work? If it was the president that was the problem, then fine, get to work. But we have to win. I mean, I appreciate you, Joy, at all times. You probably were one of the very first people to ever bring up Project 2025. You have always made it clear that there really wasn't a decision to make. I mean, it's democracy or a dictatorship, right? It's a family man or a felon. Like, you made the choice very clear, but seemingly some people were struggling with that. And, I can tell you that I know this vice president. I know her heart. The fact that I did get a phone call from her, I'm just a freshman member of Congress, y'all. But it tells you the type of person that she is. And I can't really say that I know for sure that I would be here today without the inspiration of Kamala Harris, which I was able to share with her soon upon me being sworn in. The fact that as a young black female lawyer, I looked to her when she first became an elected prosecutor in the Bay Area, and I've been following her career the entire time. So I look forward to this fight, but if anybody thinks this is going to be easy, it's not, and we need all hands on deck.
Kamala has been working hard on the trail, crisscrossing the country, and focusing on key constituencies crucial for this election. The Biden-Harris ticket has noticed slipping support among black voters, especially young black men in the polls. She's been out there trying to convey their message to these voters who will decide this race in November. Throughout this time, she has shown unwavering loyalty to the president, with no daylight between her and him as he made his decision. Now, Vice President Harris is at the top of the ticket. It's a remarkable, historic turn of events in our country's political history, coming just about 100 days before the November election.